Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. We've got a special today. We're talking oil, we're talking commodities. It's very exciting. Now, I apologize for being a few minutes late. We did have a few technical issues. It was quite an exciting moment, but we got there in the end. We even had his good lady wife join us to help out to get it all working. But we are there now. We've got it working. So this is fantastic. So welcome everybody. The first thing we want to do is bring the live tickers up on the screen. There we go. We're talking oil. We're talking commodities. We're talking about lots of things today. Yes, we're going to share with you ExxonMobil, oil, commodities. There it is on the screen. We're also going to talk about this stock here. This is Suncor. This is up today. These are some of the things we're going to be talking about. We're also going to share you all the information. Who is our star guest today? It's Josef Schachter today, live on the show. This is his website, Schachter. Catch the energy. You're going to love all this stuff. Anything to do with commodities, oil, today we are going to cover it. Now, we are in a members only mode. This is a members only live stream. It will be available for the general public later, but this is just coming to our members today. So let me just see who we got in the chat. Could everyone tap the like button? That would be absolutely great. Smash the like. There it is. And consider subscribing as well to the channel to bring you all this good stuff. Wonderful stuff. Let me just see who we got with us in the chat. We got a great audience. Thank you ever so much, everybody. We got Kelvin Romero. This is exciting. New investment opportunities always, of course. Good morning, poor man to rich man. Good morning to you. For this is a new investment opportunity. Yes, indeed. Adam Petts, DJT booming up 14%. Ride the wave. Someone just said there. Let's go. Cheers, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Let's have a look. Let's read all of this. Speaking of commodities, thoughts on platinum, Mr. Schachter? Please, any comment? I'll put that to him shortly. Cannot wait, says S7 Death Connor. Welcome to you. Thanks for coming on the show, Joseph. He spells his name Josef. That's correct. You got that right. Well done indeed. Good morning. Yes, he's in the wings waiting to come in. You may have just heard his voice there. Stephen Lewandowski is our oil man. He's looking forward to speaking to Joseph today. Listing win, oil, drill, baby, drill. Of course, you're quoting Mr. Donald Trump, of course, soon to be president. Once again, I'm here, made it just in time, ready to learn about oil. Lovely stuff. There we go. There's some of our guests just arriving. This is great. Okay, this is a members only event, a special event. We're going to bring you now our star guest. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Josef Schachter. This is his website. I will put this link in the chat for everyone right now. So there we go. Copy that, drop that into the link, into the chat. There it is. Everybody, you can go and check out Joseph's website. He gives seminars, conferences. You can turn up in person, watch it online, whatever you like. There it is. All the links are there. Please do. Joseph is one of our members as well. You might see Joseph pop up in the chat and say hello. He is one of our members. We don't have anybody on our show that's not a member, of course. So without further ado, shall we bring Joseph into the show? I think we should. Everybody, please welcome our expert on commodities and oil. Could be a regular contributor now to the show. We're very excited. Let's bring him in. Joseph, welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. It's lovely to have you here. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Glad to be with you, and sorry for all the technical difficulties.
Hey, don't you worry about that. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. Do you know what? The way I look at it is every time we get a technical difficulty, even if it's, it's a problem we can't solve or whatever, you always learn something from it. So it's all good. And our audience are completely forgiving. They don't mind waiting a bit because they know it's going to be good. So all they've been doing is sitting there drinking tea anyway. You saw me. Leah brought me a cup of coffee in, so I've had a bit of. I've had a chance to get a coffee anyway. Cheers to you, mate. So
cheers.
Everything is good. So Joseph, this is the very first time you've been on the show. You did pop in a minute ago just to let everyone know you'd be here. That was great timing. And I hope to, after I spoke to you for the first time the other day off air, learned a bit about you, and I thought, wow, this would be great to bring in as a regular contributor to our channel. What we're trying to grow is a network, like a TV channel with multiple creators going 24 hours a day. And your wisdom and knowledge on oil and commodities will be well lapped up here today. We've got some oil investors here who will be loving talking to you. So before we get into all the meat and the bones of oil going up, oil going down, commodity prices and all the rest of it, tell us a bit about you and why we should even be listening to you today, as opposed to some guy I met down the road who just knocked on my door. Who are you, Joseph? Tell the audience who you are.
Okay, my pleasure, Martin, and to everyone listening in. My career has been in the investment side in Canada for over 40 years, mostly focused on energy and the commodity board. At one point in my career, I was chief market strategist at a Canadian brokerage firm. And then in 2017, I was approached by a lot of people who said, look, there's no access to research for small and medium-sized energy companies. Because the brokers were laying off staff, it was a bad time in the commodity cycle. And so they said, would you create a product? So we started that with about 20 companies. Put the team together, started with 20 companies. And then as we got more and more input from our clients, can you cover pipeline and utilities? Because I'm an income investor. I need to have regular income coming in on, monthly dividends or quarterly dividends. And they're retired and they needed the cash flows. So we started covering companies like that. And then really the thing we did, which really brought our credibility up, was we started a conference the year later in 2018, FaceTime with the companies that we covered. So people who owned a stock could go and meet the companies they owned, chat with them, get to know the stories, go to their presentations. And that FaceTime is very valuable because in the old days, you used to be able to go to the AGMs, annual general meetings, and then they would give a presentation and you had a chance to chat with management for a while. There's no such thing anymore. It's all virtual meetings now, and there's no real FaceTime. So we created a product on the research side where it was independent review of the quarterly data. So every time there's a quarterly report comes out, I review it. They give their NI 5101, which is a legal document that has their net asset value information or asset value. I calculate what I think that's worth, and any quarterly reports come out. They update their presentations. We put that in our presentations. So twice a month we give research reports. And the one that's just coming out next Thursday is our Fearless Forecast issue for 2025. And there's quite a lot of cross-border political stuff in there, given Canada's on the radar. I can run to be a governor now. If Trump pulls this off. Canada probably doesn't want to do that. I think it's pretty clear. But the ribbing has got our prime minister on edge.
Well, that's
didn't like that.
Joseph, that is a great introduction into you and what you're all about and why you're here. And I think everyone would recognize straight off the bat, doesn't that sound familiar to what we do here? Can you see now why I was excited to bring Joseph on the show? He wants to put you face to face with the people that you're investing in. It's exactly what we do, Joseph. We interview CEOs all the time. And it's what people want. They want a real life conversation like this to the people they invest in. And that's what I'm trying to do. And to have you on the show this is great. This is great. So I've shared, and I'll do it once again, everybody. If you'd like more details of Joseph and you'd like to sign up for all his good stuff, I just want you to know Joseph is not paid to be here. He's not a big rich sponsor. He's a member of the family, just like you. There is a chat. There is a link in the chat. There's his website. He is one of our members, one of our viewers, and we always help and support each other. So I know you'll all go and support and Joseph on that. But let's get right down into the meat and bones of it. You are an oil commodities. That's what you talk about. That's your thing. We have people that do crypto. We have people that do flying taxis. We have all kinds of special fields on this show, but your expertise is commodities and oil for the reasons you've already given. And of course, we've got markets selling off at the moment because of a jobs report. People worried about inflation. I didn't feel there was anything inflationary in the jobs report at all. CPI coming up tomorrow, a PPI coming up tomorrow. I believe it was a good opportunity to buy. I think it'll be fine tomorrow. We've got oil all over the place. You've got Donald Trump saying, drill, baby, drill. He might march over with his tanks into Canada and take over Canada, take over Greenland. No one knows what's going on. It's all crazy. We got tariffs going all through the roof. We got oil prices going up and down like a yo-yo. So Joseph, help us calm down. First of all, let's start on day one, all right? Week from now, Donald Trump's in power. He's the new president of the United States again for the second time. And what do you think the immediate impact for oil will be?
I think the key is that President Biden put in a lot of kind of halt the drilling and no access to this land, and you can't drill here, you can't drill there, you can't drill Alaska, you can't drill in Gulf of Mexico, you can't drill in New Mexico. So all of those, many of those he can reverse via executive order, but some of them were caught up in legislation 100 years old or whatever the legislation is. So he needs Congress to sign off on it. So this first bill, if there's going to be two or three or one big beautiful bill, there's going to be in the first bill not only the immigration and close the border, but there'll be also this reversal of Biden's anti-energy, anti-fossil fuel view, and also removing some of the climate change, strangulation of the oil and gas industry and the whole electrical grid issues. The United States, if we're going to go with data centers, if we're going to use more electricity over time because of population growth, because of, they got to rebuild California or LA part of California. All of that's going to require a lot of copper and a lot of, new wiring and all that. So we're going to be in a commodity super cycle. So let me explain that. We don't have very often commodity super cycles. We had one from the early 1970s, 74 to 81. The price of oil went from under $3 to 36. OPEC was formed. And the last blow-off phase was when the Shah of Iran was deposed, and the price of oil went up, 12 times. Stocks went up on average 15, but you had stocks that went up 20, 30 times from 74 to 81. Then we went into a trading market. Paul Volcker, as you know, drove interest rates up to 21% on the short end, 14% on the long end. And of course, we went into a severe recession. The demand for energy dropped, and we were in a $10 environment from 36. And it was a yo-yo for many decades until 1999. During that first super cycle, Japan came in. We started buying Toshibas and Panasonics and Datsun and Toyotas and all the rest of it. So their demand for energy became at the margin, the push that drove prices up. In 99 to 08, it was China opening up their economy to capitalism under a communist umbrella. So they went from 4 million barrels to 14 million barrels between 1999 and 2008. And the price of oil went from $10 to $147. And we had many stocks that during that time, even though the average stock went up 15 times, which is quite something from a period of 99 to 08, we had many stocks go up 20, 30 times during that period of time if you were in the exploration numbers where they were able to successfully drill and bring on a lot of new resources. One of our favorites at that time was a company called Centurion Energy, which was producing about 2,000 BOEs a day in Tunisia, went into the deep desert in Egypt. 4 years later, they were producing 32,000 barrels a day. And the stock went from 69 cents to 12 bucks. Do it to me one more time. That's the kind of business we're in. If you're successful with the drill bit, the lie detector of the drill bit, you get a lot of upside. Then we went into a trading market from 2008, and it was good years for a year or two, bad years, but it was a trader's market. March of 2020, when COVID hit the worst, that was the bottom and the start of the new cycle. This cycle is going to be where the third world, where we need producers of aluminum, nickel, copper, all the things that we're going to use for the energy transition, and to build out, the data centers, which are going to use an enormous amount of electricity. So you're going to need copper. You're going to need all kinds of things to do that. And if we have the EV become more longer range and easier to charge, the EV world will pick up some more. All of that's going to require raw materials from countries in the third world where they don't have high qualities of life. Some of them don't have drinking water in their home. Some don't have electricity. So if we're going to ask them, build a nickel mine, build a copper mine, build the lithium facilities, they're going to want to do the upgrading of those raw materials, and then they're going to want to produce it and sell it. And they want high paying jobs, good paying jobs, and they want to be able to afford a quality of life, nutrition wise, etc. Not as maybe like we do, because their lifestyles are different, but they're going to want to have a better quality of life and a better life for their children. Education, upside opportunity, mobility, all of those things. So this cycle started in March of 2020. I think it'll last into the next decade. And before this is over, I think the price of oil is going to go above the 147 that it did in June of 2008. And I think we're going to see $10 NYMEX because of more and more LNG plants. And right now, the United States is the largest LNG exporter in the world, and they were not even a factor in the game 10 years ago. So that's how quickly things can change. And with Trump's drill baby drill opening the doors for more LNG capacity to meet the world's needs, Europe needs it, Asia needs it. That brings a lot of revenue into the North American economy. The one thing I disagree with President Trump on is if he wants to incentivize the industry to drill and aggressively grow the capacity. Right now, the U.S. is producing, 13.6 million barrels a day, and so that's of oil. And then they're producing 9.2 million barrels of liquids, natural gas liquids, and so they're the largest producer in the world at over 22 million barrels. The second largest producer of the world is Russia, which of course Biden's new policies of the shadow ships is the reason why we've bumped $4 or $5 in the price of oil to over 78 today. And then the next after that is Saudi Arabia, just under 9, and then Canada at 6 million barrels a day. So Canada and the United States are together are massive producers of energy in terms of the amount in the world. If we're using 103 million barrels, we're talking about 28 million of that comes from Canada and the United States, which is a pretty big number. And potentially we could grow our production by 2 million. The US could grow their production by 3 or 4 million between now and the end of the decade. So we would become the energy producer for the world, and countries which are a high risk, where people don't want to deal with Iran or Venezuela or other countries that they consider difficult to work with, and of course don't have the freedoms that we have here that we think are important, and the way they treat their people. Again, Venezuela with dictatorial jailing of opposition leaders, etc. Then we would say, okay, well, nobody's going to buy from them. They're going to buy from us if the price is the same or better. And then that's, I think, is going to be the positive. So in terms of where will oil go in the near term, we're in a trading range, I think, between 66 and maybe 80. So we're at the higher end of that range now, and we popped $5 on this Biden announcement. Russia never seems to get hurt in the end. They always find a way around it, and I think they will here. And I think the reason Biden did this is not only to punish Russia because of the Ukraine war, but also to make things tougher on President Trump when he comes in, if he wants to start negotiating with Putin on resolving Ukraine and resolving maybe some of the military issues around the world, nuclear weapon issues, etc. All the things that need to be done by two, major powers, where the U.S. is the major power, but China's number 2 and Russia probably number 3. And so there's got to be a dialogue for that. And by doing what Biden did, he's making the dialogue more difficult. So I'm very optimistic. I think we'll see all-time highs in the price of oil, 150 or more. So again, that's going to be very positive. But the negative is President Trump wanted to see the price of the gasoline at the pump go down 50%. So in other words, $4 gas becomes $2 gas. The industry won't respond and drill because they have pressure on them to make economic decisions. Their shareholders say, we want you to, return to shareholders, dividends, normal course issuer bids, buy back your stock, and we want you to be doing things efficiently, not grow, and we don't care about the economics. The pressure is on do economic decisions that create shareholder value.
Wow. Great information there for everybody. I'm sure that we're going to have tons of questions and comments from you. So start loading up your comments, guys. We are in membership mode today. It's a members only live stream. So if you've got comments, questions for Joseph today, I think you've just heard there, he's got a wealth of experience. And I'm just going to tell everybody, just so you know, that very often people want to come on the show with a green screen. That's not a green screen. That's Joseph's actual office. Isn't that right, Joseph? That's all your paperwork and all the stuff going on. Charts and numbers. That's real.
That's just my side. The other, with the other people work is the other side, which is 3 times bigger.
Love it. It's great to see it real. I'm the same. Everything behind me is real. All the piano, the lights, it's real. It's nice to see people actually doing stuff. And you often get people today with green screens trying to make themselves look like they're in an office. They're actually sat on the toilet. It's ridiculous. It's lovely to see you with the actual working office there. This is fantastic. It's very exciting times. How has EVs and all that whole thing, I don't think it's touched the sides of oil at all, but how has it affected the industry at all, or oil at all? Has any been any change, or is it made hardly any difference at all? What's your thoughts on that?
In the long run, I think that the OECD will be using less oil, but it'll be the emerging world that will use more than the decline. So if we see the OECD demand go down by 2 or 3 million barrels between now and the end of the decade because of EVs, because of more fuel efficiency standards, because we use more oil for product and natural gas, and we don't burn as much, let's just say, fuel oil because we have more natural gas available or more electricity that's being created. So to me, the big demand is going to be non-OECD. So the EV side, the problem you have is in the charging time. People don't like to have to wait, and there's not enough charging stations. And the other thing is cold weather. And so if you have cold weather, the batteries don't hold the charge as long. And if you're living in a northern climate like we are here in Alberta, the charge won't which if they say it can go 350, 400 kilometers, maybe it only goes 150 kilometers in very bad, minus 30, minus 40 Celsius weather. That's the kind of cold weather you don't want to have. But I think that even in Atlanta today, if you were driving an EV, you might find you don't have the distance that you thought you had from your Tesla. So to me, EVs are coming. There are going to be more of them. But the technology still has a way to go. And until it gets such that I can leave my house in Calgary, go up to Edmonton, see my grandchildren and my daughter and her husband, and then drive back, and maybe just stop once in Edmonton, like I would to fill my gas up when I'm coming home, and a quick charge, go to my Starbucks, and by the time I finish with Starbucks, getting my cafe mocha, grande mocha, then the charge is complete. So unless the ease of use is there and the time can be short, I think people are going to be hesitant in northern climates to be a buyer of EVs at this time.
And let me tell you, I actually visited to Canada a few times, and you've not experienced cold until you've been to northern parts of Canada. I remember going there once and being a roughy, tufty Englishman who's experienced in centigrade, -5. I can do the cold. Don't worry about me. No, you can't go outside. I'll be all right. I'll put a hat on and a coat on. And I walked out the front door, and I think it was like -30 or -35 centigrade. And I know it goes colder than that. And it was like the front of my nose was being set on fire, like it was going to be burned off within a second. And I came straight back in and went, oh my God, forget that. That's a bad idea. So, when your EV car is experiencing temperatures like that, it's not just being cold like which most of us are used to. It's proper cold. And until you've experienced it, it's proper cold. It's bound to have some effect on your car. There's no doubt about it, because it certainly affected me. It scared the hell out of me, by the way. I was like, oh my God, this is real cold. I never experienced anything like it. Anyway. But no, it's a fascinating subject, oil. But the thing is, I've always said to people, see, I am pro EV. I like the whole green energy. I like all of that. However, Oil isn't just about oil we burn in our engines, is it? It's in everything. It's in plastics. It's in everything that we touch around. Everything we have at home here, even right down to your iPhone. There's oil some way in it. Can you give us, what is your outlook for the future of oil, even with technologies coming online, EVs, all these things? Is there always a future for oil, or will it just disappear?
Yeah, I would say to people, just Google uses for oil, and they'll see basketballs, they'll see eyeglasses, they'll see, clothing, they'll see, there's so much in the channel of things we use every day that have oil in them, be it your computers, be it your desktop, be it my keyboard. All of it has, energy related plastics or whatever that are created for things we need, so that the demand for crude oil will not go away. It will be made more productive. It will be made more climate friendly, because we're going to put in emission controls. We're going to have, sequestration for carbon. We're going to have methane, controls. So the industry is responding to these issues of climate, and they're doing a very good job, and they're not getting the credit for it to the degree that of the work they're doing. So I'm sitting here in Alberta, and I'm on my soapbox now, but the reality is the industry is doing a very good job. And if you read their reports of any company in the space, be it a pipeline, be it a utility, be it an oil company, a natural gas company, a chemical company, there's always sections in their reports talking about what they're doing to lower their negative emissions. And I think that that's very important for the go forward strategy.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because it reminded me of a really amazing story I watched once, and I verified it and checked it. In England, we have on the BBC, we used to have a show called Top Gear. Jeremy Clarkson, you might have seen the what was it, Grand Tour on Amazon, whatever. Jeremy Clarkson used to have a TV show on the BBC called Top Gear, and he was once at a petrol station, a gas station, as you say here in America, and he was filling up his Ferrari. He had a Ferrari sports car, and he was filling it up, and someone came up to him who was a climate activist and went, "That's terrible, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't have that car. It pollutes the atmosphere." And it was incredible, because he said to the guy, this guy had a Ford Fiesta or a Ford Focus or a regular normal person's car, right? Not a Ferrari, whatever. And he said, one drop of your fuel that goes through your engine produces as much pollution as my entire tank does on this Ferrari. Yes, it burns more miles per gallon than yours does, but what comes out of the exhaust pipe is a lot cleaner and refined, because the engine's better tuned and better refined, and so on and so forth. So when you talked about oil there, with improving the way they do things and so on and so forth, it does come down to how you produce it and what you do with it and how you burn it, because that was a really good example of, yes, he burns more oil, he goes through more gas, petrol, whichever you like, but what came out at the other end was a lot cleaner than was coming out of this regular Ford Focus, Ford Fiesta, whatever you like. And I thought that was incredible. So just because somebody has a gas guzzling sports car doesn't necessarily mean they're creating more pollution. They're just using more of the stuff. And I've always said this, because I'm all about green. My house is my house is run by solar. I recycle everything. I do everything I can. This whole studio is run off a battery, which is solar powered, all on one AC outlet, which is solar powered, this whole studio. So I'm all about doing the right thing. But you need to understand the science of it before you just throw everything, as a black and white. It's not a black and white argument, this. It's there's a lot more to it. But I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to make in the super cycle, it's not just energy. Energy is just the biggest component of the CRB, but we all know what's gone crazy with cocoa prices. We know what's gone with uranium prices. We've seen copper have a takeoff over $5 now, $4. We've seen live cattle prices go up. Everything that we're seeing around us, because of underinvestment because of the bad economics, because of crop issues. Bird flu is why egg prices have gone up through the roof. Butter prices have gone through the roof. We are in a commodity super cycle that affects everything. So the fellow, one of them I was thinking, was asking about the platinum palladium board. And the reality is all precious metals have had a good run already. We've seen gold and silver do extremely well. But for that, it's also not only the inflation and the debasements of currencies, it's the amount of deficits of governments and the fact that the amount of debt that they have, and they have no easy way of getting their fiscal house in order. So people are looking for ways to keep their purchasing power. So they're buying precious metals, they're buying the Bitcoins, they're looking away from other conventional assets to find a way to protect their net worth, real estate, art, whatever it is. And it's within your comfort zone and within your risk profile. But for me, I think people don't realize that when you compare the commodity board to the S&P 500, we are trading today below the value of 1974, right before we started that massive commodity cycle. And again, right before 1999, when we started that massive commodity cycle. We are cheaper in commodities today than then. So what commodities do you want to own? Well, in the financial futures area or the financials, you can buy the S&P if you have a futures account, or you can buy the ETFs, or you can buy individual stocks. My training and my background has been in energy. I've had quite a bit of success in those two prior cycles. I got beat up during those trading cycles, as we all have a thing of doing, where we give back because we think it's going to be a bull market forever, and it's not. You've got to take into account. So I have the scars that tells me, that when the bad times come now, be careful, sit on the sidelines. But right now, I'm thinking we're in one of those get close to whatever you're waiting that you want for energy, get close to fully invested. I think we're going to see one more pullback in the price of crude oil in the next couple of months after we get through this, Biden initiative that he's done with push prices up. But after that, I think we had a great buy signal during tax loss selling season, November, December. I think during February, March, we'll get another buy signal. And then you want to have exposure both to light oil, crude oil, Permian Basin, places like that for your U.S. listeners. For Canada, it would be the Montney with liquids rich natural gas. You want to be exposed to LNG, so companies that are producing gas to that LNG market, with the U.S. now being the largest producer in the world, and Canada just becoming a little baby with our first plant on the West Coast sometime this summer, and hopefully 5 or 6 plants by the end of the decade. So you want to be involved there. So if we want to, talk about ideas and names, the stocks, just to give you valuation ranges, when companies are trading cheaply, they trade below what we call proved developed producing reserves. That's what banks will lend against. So they'll lend against 60% of your proved developed producing, which means they never have to drill another well. The cash flows come in, the banks get paid back. So they're willing to lend against it. You then have proved non-producing, which is wells that are next to producing wells, which they know probably if they're drilled, they'll be good. And then you have probable reserves. So today we're trading under PDP. At the top of markets, we trade at 2P, the proven and probable. And so that could be a 5, 6, 7 times move just on that. Then you have a higher commodity price. Then you have more production as companies grow and drill, baby, drill. And so you could have 15, 20 baggers in the cycle, both in the US names and in the board that I cover in Canada. And so there's a lot of opportunity here. And what we do is we write up every quarter what the companies are. So again, as you put up the name www.schachterenergyreport.ca, they can go to the website, see the names we cover. There's free issues there as well, so they can read what we've said in the past. The best issue that we do all year is the one that's coming out next Thursday, which is the Fearless Forecast 2025. So you can take the noose out and say, okay, Joseph put 8 Fearless Forecasts. Let's see if he gets 4 or 5 of those right, and we'll see at the end of the year. Hopefully, I'm 7 for 8, and that would be a good win. And then we also have the conference. So people who want access to the names of the companies they own. In the States, there's a thing called Entercom that has conferences for American companies. We do the conferences in Canada, and we do that here in Calgary in October. So the next one will be Saturday, October 18th, 2025 at Mount Royal University. We had 700 attendees last year, and we're hoping to get that number through 800 this year by taking a little more space at Mount Royal University. So it really is a way for individual investors to not only know the companies, get the information, listen to the management, ask them all these questions. I'll just give you an example. At one of the conferences, there was a fellow standing by a CEO asking question after question and listening to other people's questions. And he came up to me and he said, Joseph, this guy is, what do I do? He's standing here all the time. What am I going to do? Have you asked him if he's a shareholder? 20 minutes later, he came back and he said, he owns more than me and I'm the CEO. He made a ton of money in real estate and forest products. He was a BC resident, and he made all that money. And he said, now I own 4 or 5 energy companies plus other stuff. And he says, you're the one of the ones. I want to know how you make decisions with my company.
That's it. That's a fascinating story, isn't it? That is great. I love that. This has been a great first introduction to you, Joseph. This is great, and I'm so glad that you then mid-conversation, mid-sentence switch from oil to commodities, because it's so important. This channel, what we're trying to do is educate people and provide them an understanding of the market. And some people, come to the show and, they're looking for a speculative stock or a speculative crypto or basically a gamble. And if you understand what goes behind the businesses, the companies, for me, I like Coca-Cola. I have my Roth IRA, Coca-Cola, but Coca-Cola isn't just about Coca-Cola. You have to understand the commodity prices, sugar, and all these things. That's very, very important to dictate where Coca-Cola is going to go. And if you have no idea of the cycle that we're on and what the prices of the raw items are, you're just guessing about where the stock might go. And this information is so important, so you now understand what the business is and what the business relies on, and what if this goes right, this is what's going to happen to your business. And so this is why oil and commodities, having you as being able to contribute to our show, is going to provide such a great wealth of knowledge and understanding for people when they buy a business, how it will be affected by oil, commodity prices, and so on and so forth. It really is absolutely gold valuable. It really is solid gold information here, folks. I've got some questions coming in. People want to ask you. We are coming to the end of our broadcast. I've got lots of other things I've got to get done today, so we're coming to the end of our show just for today. But hopefully, after today, Joseph might be able to just pop in for a few minutes each week or whatever, and give us an update on oil or commodities, where we are right now, a little bit of a news bulletin. And each time that we do that, Joseph will let them know about your upcoming events, what you're doing. So don't forget, guys, in the chat and below the video later, I will put the link to Joseph's website. You can go and check that out, sign up for it. He's got an email newsletter and all the rest of it. You can get information directly from him, and I'm sure you're going to find it of great value and use. And then if you've got those emails, got those bits of information, when Joseph pops in on our show, then you can be in the chat and ask him specifically, look, I got this message from you. What do you mean by that? And you can talk directly back to him through to the CEOs and everybody else. It's absolutely fantastic. Well, let's go and ask a few questions, answer a few questions if we may. So what I'd like you to do is, if we are in members only mode anyway, if you have a question or a comment and you've asked earlier, please repeat it, because some of you have been asking questions now for 20 minutes or an hour, and it'll take me a while to go back and find everything. So if I've missed anything, please do come back and repeat those, and I will put those to Joseph. Classic Car Nut. Now, this is the guy who contacted you, Joseph. I think you know him as Eric, correct? Yes. Just so you know, I never go to anyone and say, can you be on my show? I don't sell the show or, whatever. Classic Carnot, one of our members, otherwise known as Eric, contacted Joseph. He watched something he did before and asked, said, hey, Joseph, can you be on the show? And we got talking, and that's how this happened. So thank you to you, Classic Carnot, Eric, as we now know you as. Thank you for getting him on the show. This has been absolutely brilliant. This is what the family's about. We all, the Lucas aides all work together to get everybody on and do all these great things.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. William, speaking commodities, thoughts on platinum. Any comments on, I've got a question here from William who says, any thoughts on platinum, Joseph?
Yeah, this whole precious metals board is going to go higher because it's there's not a lot of it. It's in the case of platinum and palladium, they're needed in catalytic converters. So if we want more fuel efficiency and if we want less emissions being released, cars all around the world are going to need it. And of course, people consider it a store of value. So, do you want to have a brick of gold? Do you want to have a brick of platinum or a brick of palladium? There are people who, from a store value, and the ease of drilling and finding platinum and palladium is very hard. We're not finding much new gold either. Central banks are hoarding gold like crazy. They're buying it up like crazy because they are concerned about stores of value versus their own currencies and their own trade issues that they're worried about. So instead of buying U.S. Treasury bonds, China's selling treasury bonds, buying up a lot of gold and not so much silver, but they're buying a lot of gold. Well, we're hearing Russia's doing the same thing, and countries and individuals around the world. And then you look at TV, the number of ads we're seeing to buy gold and silver coins. But platinum is another one of the precious metals group. And again, I recommend people decide what's appropriate for you. I have coins, as like everybody. You have certain parts of it that you're interested in, and I like the coin side. And so I've done that with Kruger Rand's Canadian government. Has coins, gold coins. So those are the kinds that I've added to my portfolio. But if I was to talk about, we all have real estate, we all have investments. My portfolio is more focused towards energy. Stay in what you know,
Yeah,
and have
absolutely.
access to management, know what you're doing, and
Yeah.
then you can. And then I was sitting with quite a lot of cash reserves through most of 2024, but with tax loss selling, I put most of that cash that I had waiting to buy energy stocks, and I have still some that if I'm right about another correction in February, March, I'll put the rest to work in names with dividend yields, with growth prospects, good management, large insider ownership. I have a checklist of things that they got to do for me to say, I'll cover you. And one of the checklists is, would I want to buy the stock myself? Do you have enough? Is it attractive enough that I can feel comfortable telling my audience about it if I feel I would be willing to do it buy it myself?
Fantastic. I'm now opening this up to the general public now, so it's now available for the general public to tune in. Let's see what happens. You never know what we're going to get now. Mr. Schachter, please do you use Fibonacci tools in your work? This is from William again. Do you use Fibonacci tools in your work?
I have sources that I use that use Fibonacci tools. So I can't do everything myself. So there's some people that I respect that have services. So I buy other people's services that help educate me. So I use some that are more just stock market generalists, others that are cycles people, others that, so that you got to take a lot of that in, read a lot, and then figure out how to use it within the world you're involved in. Remember, one thing I want to make very clear is I am not a trader. I am an investor. My
Yes,
holding
like
period can
me.
be years. My holding period is years. So if you're asking me, where's the price of oil going in the next week? Should I buy an out of the money option? You're talking to the wrong guy.
Yes.
I've had a history of losing money in options, so I don't do that anymore.
No.
So if you want to talk to me about high quality companies that are depressed in value, we can chat.
Spot on, spot on. That's me. That's what I do. I try to encourage that wherever possible to try to educate and help people be a long-term investor. 95% of day traders lose money. Be an investor, own the business. I only buy what I can own for at least 10 years. That's how I do things. But some people like to trade, and good luck to them as well. Good luck to everybody. Let's have a look. What else have we got here? This is a nice comment. On vacation now, but can't stop watching. Always good information. Don't want to miss anything. Love it. I'm here just in time. Ready to learn about oil, said Zach Zay. I'm loving it. Let's have a look. Looking forward to another great interview. Eugene McCombs. We're now opening up to general public. We should start. We'll probably get a lot more people in a moment. But let me go through these questions. In the oil sector, I made my biggest gamble. In oil sector, I made my biggest gamble fail. Not quite sure what you mean by that. Traw says, drill, baby, drill. Sammy says, cheers, Joseph. Oh, by the way, Sammy, was that you who emailed me? I had an email from a Sammy. Thank you ever so much indeed. You had a few questions you wanted to ask me. I prefer to do it on the show rather than reply to email. So if you have a question, come back to me and I will try and answer your query that you sent me on the email here in the show. Okay, let's have a little look. Let's have a look. We got Stephen Ludowski, one of our moderators here. Hi, Joseph. He's one of our biggest oil investors here. He really loves oil. James, I'd be interested to hear your views on the stock TRMD, ticker TORM. The company engaged in the transportation of oil refined products. It's a high dividend paying stock. Are you familiar with that company at all?
No, my board covers the Canadian and some big interlisted, like I keep an eye on Exxon and big
No
names like
worries.
that.
That's okay.
But
You
TORM
can't. Yeah.
is a marine transportation company, TRMD, and I'm just pulling the stock out right now.
Okay.
And it's TORM PLC, so that would mean it has some UK back on there. I would think PLC is European.
Yes, it is.
Stock's trading at 22.60, and it has a very high dividend yield, $2.2 billion market cap. Again, I don't know enough about it, but go to the presentations on their website, learn about the company, check the balance sheet, check insider ownership, and I think you'll get the story you need to be comfortable. But again, this area of the market, I would say, would be one that you'd want to invest in, because if the demand for crude goes up by 5-6 million barrels between now and the end of the decade, and it's got to be moved from the places where it is to the places that are needed, that means this is going to be a pretty good business. So I think people should look at it, if that's part of their portfolio interest. One thing I wanted to add in, for people who are just trying to get to know and understand energy and the commodity board, our paid product is the company research. We have a free product which comes out weekly called Eye on Energy. And that Eye on Energy is a macro piece that covers what's going on with OPEC, what's coming over with the EIA data each week on petroleum and natural gas, what my views on the market are, what's going on in terms of prices and where I think things are going. That's a free product called Eye on Energy, and it's a great educational tool. And we gather everything from the geopolitical impacts on energy to the economic impacts on energy. Where are prices going in the near term and the long term? And that's an educational piece that we use. And we put a teaser in there, like anything. Here's what we're doing on the paid product. If you're interested, join, just like you join your membership, join our membership, and then cover the companies that you're interested in.
Thank you. Vanessa, one of our members, has asked, don't we already have plenty of places to drill without starting new ones? That's a good question, that. Can we just drill? Can we just continue pumping from the places we already have? Or do we have to keep constantly adding new ones? What's your thoughts there?
Well, the problem is reservoirs deplete. So at the beginning, a reservoir may have 100 million barrels. But as we're producing, we never can produce more than maybe 15 or 20% of the oil in place with secondary recovery, water floods, polymer floods. So there's always going to be oil there. But with new technologies, you can go back into old places and drill more, or unconventional was something that nobody drilled years ago, but now with fracking, the Permian is now the biggest producing area of the United States. The Montney in Canada is the biggest producing area in Canada. So, they were drilled. Those areas were producing from upper zones. So there's many zones where you can have, natural gas molecules or oil molecules. But the deeper drilling, the larger areas that right now are the most prolific are these ones where new technology's been applied, and fracking is a big part of it. Gathering systems are important, and then we have that both in Canada, the United States, but the Gulf of Mexico, which really hasn't been very active, has a lot of fields, but there's probably deeper fields, so they need to do more seismic, more drilling. Gulf of Mexico, or Gulf of America, as you may want to call it. And then Alaska has tremendous upside. At one point, Alaska, I believe, was producing 2.5 million barrels a day. Now it's only 500,000. If they're allowed to reopen it under, very controlled drilling techniques, so that they make sure that they're very environmentally conscious, there is a possibility you could add 1.5 million barrels of new capacity just in Alaska if everything goes together well. So I'm very optimistic about the ability for North America to bring more energy to the world, and it's the emerging world that's going to need it. And if they don't have their own natural resources and energy, they're going to be buying from Canada and the United States and other places where you have security of supply and you have a transportation system. Plus, you can pay for it via the SWIFT system. As you know, Russia was removed from the SWIFT system. And if you can't pay for things easily, like your credit card or buying and selling, like we all do, that becomes a problem. So I think there's a great future for North America. And of course, Big Brother is the United States.
Thank you. If you've just tuned in, we're talking to Josef Schachter today, oil commodities expert. That is a real office he's sitting in there. That isn't a green screen, full of information, numbers and charts and everything else, providing a fantastic information to you. And hopefully this will be a regular segment of our show. So we have our technicians, we have our crypto guys, we have our EVTOLs, we have me building relationships with CEOs and all the rest of it. And now we've got oil and commodities. Wow, guys, isn't this great? More questions. Kelvin Romero, as a first-time investor into oil, which companies do you think will profit the most with the next 4 years of Trump's term? What do you think of that one? Give me a quick answer on that one.
I don't know enough about the U.S. companies, but there are ETFs that cover the energy space. What I would do is do your homework, learn more about the ETFs, which gives you a broad base of it. So you're not sticking your name and say, okay, I'm going to pick A and B or C, and then A works out, but I bought B or C. So buying a package, either a mutual fund or an ETF, is probably the best way to go for an early investor. And once you get comfortable with the sector and you're following individual companies that you like, then you can go and start buying individual names.
Thank you very much for that one there. Going through all our comments here, let me have a look. Chef says, clean water is the most precious resource on earth. I think most people would agree with that.
I would totally agree with that. And,
Yes.
we're fortunate North America has that, except maybe in California, but we're very fortunate with the Great Lakes, etc.
Indeed, indeed. Sensei Crypto, this is one of our contributors to the show, has a regular show now himself. So Joseph, this could be like you. This is one of our other contributors every Sunday, calls into the show several times a week, does his own videos. Gold nearly hit my 2,800 target entry 1,500 November 22. Will the bull market continue? And what's your decade target? Any thoughts on that one? Gold we're talking about now, Joseph.
Yeah, if governments continue to run deficits, if the debt of governments keeps on going up, then they're debasing your currency. Gold will, and also if there's geopolitical tensions like with Iran or Venezuela, friends of mine who are knowledgeable in the space throw numbers of $10,000 an ounce out and tell me, Joseph, hold on to your Krugerrands and Canadian coins. They'll be worth a lot more later on. So I'll trust their judgment and just wait till we get to that number, and then I'll ask them again, what's your new number?
Hi, Joseph. You may have seen as you're talking, I'm dropping all the people saying, love this, love you to have you on the show regularly. We're loving this, we're loving this, loving this. Hopefully everyone has signed up for your newsletter. I hope they have, and all the rest of it, which is I'm sure they have. The Lucas Aids all support our members. And remember, Joseph is a member, a viewer, a contributor to the show. He didn't come to me and say, can I give you X amount of dollars and promote my business? He's a member of our channel. He's here for free. It's not paying to be here. I'm not paying him to be here. He's here today to share information. If you want to sign up for his newsletter and gain information, then you can. He's a member of the family. He watches. We all support our members. Right. A weekly fixed lot would be super amazing. I got the alert. Oh, yes. Lots of people are talking about and want to ask you about TPL. Have you heard about TPL? Texas Pacific Land in the Permian Basin. You mentioned it. I said it was one of the most perfect businesses you could ever wish to meet because it just owns land, and anybody that works on the land pays them to lease or rent the land. And we know that Elon Musk is wanting to put solar panels on it. People are going to want to drill on it for power, for data centers, and all this stuff. And we're very excited about TPL. It had a massive thousands of % rally, went up crazy. It trimmed off just after it was announced that Trump had won. People took profits, and I think it's going to go back up again. Have you got any thoughts on TPL? It's one of my favorites.
Again, anything to do with control of land where people will pay you to drill on it and you get a royalty as well. So this stock in 2020, March of 2020, was down to $92. The high was $17.67 just a couple of, I think, October, November period of last year. Again, having land and people wanting to drill on it, it's a fabulous business. Again, I don't know enough to say specifically, is there land tier one, how much more drilling there is on it, but go to the website, see their presentation, listen to the quarterly meetings and conference calls. But I think that the concept of this name is fabulous.
I know. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. We did a poll once, Joseph. You'll be amazed because what you just said there about read the reports, blah, 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 all this good stuff. We always encourage that. We had a poll once and we asked our audience, and 85% of people that bought a stock had never read the balance sheet. They just bought the stock, sat on Robinhood, sat on the toilet. This sounds good. Some guy on YouTube told me to buy it. Boom, they bought it. It was so funny. 85%. It's crazy. Hopefully now, if I did that poll again, that would be lower than that. We encourage everyone to read the balance sheet. I mean, literally, if you were going to go and buy a house, and some people spend more money on stocks than they do a house, right? If you go and buy a house, you go and look at the house, you know what it's about, you have a survey done on it, you know if there's mining going underneath it, you know what the value might be in the future, you look at the terms and conditions of your mortgage, you pay a little bit of attention. You probably pay even more attention to a car you're buying, but stocks, we just buy them willy-nilly, sat on our phone, sat on the toilet half the time, and we do encourage you to read the balance sheet. And for me, one of those is TPL. I do like that one.
One thing my comment would be is every company you own, you should go on the website when they do their quarterly conference calls. They'll have a presentation, and the best thing is the Q&A at the end, because you have experts in the industry asking the tough questions, and management, including Elon Musk and Tesla gets it, Coca-Cola gets it. You name the company, if there's a tough question, it'll be asked by the analysts. So to me, I think that's if you're only going to do one thing, listen once a quarter to the companies you own, listen to how management tells the story, and they're going to, of course, do the positive side, but then listen to the Q&A, and you'll find out if there's any warts in the story.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because we cover nearly all the earnings for the stocks we cover. We up to 4 a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon because we have 2 shows. And I've actually been on now 2 earnings calls, not just covering the earnings, on the earnings calls next alongside the banks, institutions. I was invited to ask a question, which was amazing. We got another one coming up in a few weeks. I'm very excited about it. I'll be covering Gorilla Technology. I'll be on the earnings call for that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The Q&A at the end is when analysts and Even guys like me on YouTube. In fact, I believe I was the only one to ever do that. They said that was a first to call in. But yeah, you ask the questions. That's when you learn about the company. Absolutely right. And that's what you're doing. You speak to people like this and present it to us. This is what this is all about. Could oil usage, from Chris Richards, potentially tank, particularly in China? I think he's talking about the amount of EVs coming out. Do you see it tanking? Interesting question.
The need for oil is not just for gasoline or diesel for trucks. It's also for all the products we talked about before, and it's used for propane for heating. And of course, urban China may not use as much crude oil because of EVs, but rural China is not going to be EV nation for a long, long time. So the interior and the western part of China will be big users of crude oil and diesel for a long, long time, but they will continue to use crude oil for product. So as you know, if they sell us more computers, more phones, even Huawei has some oil in their phones or in their their data centers. So the product side cycle is where there's going to be a demand increase. And while I don't think China will have that growth rate where it went from 4 million to 16 million, it may not go to 20 or 22, but it could go to 17, 18 million by the end of the decade, yes.
Interesting one. Is a good one from Sensei, one of our creators and dear friend to the channel. I remember making and losing so much money with Nordic American tankers during COVID. Did you buy at the time oil when it went to negative? Could you remember that? I mean, wow. We were being paid to own oil.
There were Brit hedge funds that were beating the crap out of the price of oil. So not only did they lower the price that they made because they were shorted. So if they shorted it at 50 or 60 and it went down to negative, they also got paid to take the oil on top of it. So it was minus 20, if I believe. And then the next future was 650. But when that March, April period happened and the prices went down there, I did a lot of work on companies and said, okay, what are these companies worth? Because the price of oil is not going to be zero. The price of oil has to stabilize at a price where you can bring on more oil, which might have been $60 at the time. So there were bargains galore, and there were many 10 baggers and 20 baggers from that March, April low. And fortunately, I did have some of them. So I have no complaints.
Yeah, I can imagine. I wish I'd been doing it at that time. Someone makes the comment, two big pause. We're now moving on to non-members now. We're open to general public, so we could get some peculiar questions. And this one here doesn't make any sense to me. Solar panels are disgusting for the planet. Let me just tell you by my own experience. It's the only way I share information is my own experience. My home in the UK runs solely off solar panels. I earn money from the electricity I produce. It goes into the grid and they pay me to produce electricity. Even if I use all the electricity that my solar panels generate, which I do, which powers my house. The solar panels were put on my roof about 10 years ago. Not only have I had no electric bill for 10 years, I've earned money for the last 10 years, and they're going to sit there, as far as I'm concerned, forever. There's no wearing out of the solar panels. I might have to fix the odd optimizer that breaks. So all I can tell you is I can't see how there's anything bad about solar sat on my roof. My electric's free. I earn money from the government. It's a win-win. It also protects from hail. If you live in an area where there's hail, it can protect your roof. I like to see it there. I think it looks pretty cool. Some people go, I don't like it on my roof. That's fine. That's an opinion. But I don't see anything wrong with it at all. It doesn't do any harm to me. And in fact, when I look at how many trees I've planted in the equivalent of the CEO that I've saved, it's a win-win for me, and it's offset even the production of making the solar panel in the first place. So for me, I've got nothing bad to say about solar. I've got to be honest. If you got any opinions on solar, Joseph, and you can completely disagree with me if you want to.
The only concern about solar is the inputs that they're making for solar come from China or come from countries with environmental records that are questionable. Let's use that word. So the raw material inputs are the issue. The fact that solar panels in countries where you have a lot of sun and you don't have a lot of snow, because when you have a lot of snow, you're not going to be generating a lot of electricity. And of course, wind. If the wind doesn't show up like it did in the UK, was that 2 years ago? There was a blind area where there was no wind for the solar generation in Norway and the UK. So there are times when the weather doesn't cooperate for them, but and so they're interruptible. Let's use that word. They're interruptible power, but they are going to be part of the solution for us to get the power we need and to clean the environment up and make sure that we're running everything as efficiently as possible. And I think uranium is going to be a big deal. These modular reactors that they're talking about, the SMRs, I think they're going to be a part of it. You don't have as much of an issue there with the pods at the end, and in terms of the concern about those. So I think that over time we're going to find many new ways to meet the power demand of the world.
Thank you for that answer. I'm just, as you were delivering that, I'm trying to see if I can pull this up to show everybody. This is live. This is my house in England, my solar right now, because someone just asked me a question about this. So I'm going to see if I can share this on the screen with everybody without revealing my address and all those other things. This is my live solar right now in the United Kingdom. Bearing in mind, it's now 6 o'clock in the evening. The sun's gone down. It's dark. It's winter. There's no production whatsoever. This is my live feed to my house right now. It's a very small system that I have. I'm earning zero right now. Can you see that? The sun's gone down, not earning anything whatsoever, not doing anything at all, not earning any money. But if we scroll down here, I can show you what I earned today, how many trees. Look, there's the benefit. Look at that. 234 trees planted. That's the equivalent. CO2 emissions saved, 3,867 kilograms. And you can see how it ranges throughout the year. This is real live data happening live right now. Now, you might be looking at that and thinking, hang on a minute, how much, as someone did ask me here, how much did you pay for your solar panels versus what you save from electric bill? I will tell you what I pay. About 10 years ago, I paid about £3,000, which is about $3,500 at the time, $3,500, somewhere in that region, maybe $4,000, somewhere in that region. And I've more than got my money back several times over. And that's a very small system. It's only 8 panels. I only have a small little house in England. However, like everything, it's a bit like being an investor. It's not just about what you buy, it's how efficient the engine is, the money you put in, and you don't waste money. So when I introduced solar to my house, the first thing I did was make my house really, really efficient. So all my bulbs went to LED. My heating system was upgraded. My windows were upgraded. Nothing is wasted. I have a very efficient house, and it runs my house now. Even though it's only 8 panels, we have a much more moderate climate in the UK. 9 months out of 12, my heating's not on, and I don't have air conditioning. So if I had air conditioning and heating running all the time, I would have to have a lot more. But when I go back in the UK in the later on this year, I'm going to add a battery to all of this. So when you talked about, it's interruptible, when I'm not using power and the sun's shining, and by the way, new systems now don't require the sun to be shining. It's the sun's always shining. That's silly. But clouds in the sky, ambient lighting is enough. It doesn't have to be direct lighting anymore. It used to be direct lighting from the sun. Now it can be ambient light, and they're much more efficient. And I have what's called inverters like end-phase energy. We talk about that a lot on the show. Independent, which means is one panel could be in shade or get pooped on by a giant bird and not work very efficiently. And they're independent. They're not in a series. So one can go down, one inverter can go down, and the system still works efficiently. And I can tell you that I've got my money back, and I earn money all the time, and my house runs for free. But it wasn't going to happen just by me putting a few panels on my roof. I had to make my house efficient before I did that. So for me, I've got nothing bad to say about it. I absolutely love it. Let me get back to my chart. There we go. Any more questions before we let Joseph go for a well-earned break? Should all humans be concerned about climate intensities? I don't think that's a question directly to Joseph, unless he wanted to answer that. Stephen, I was in oil March 2020, $15 a barrel, crude oil. I was in. Let's have a little look. Joseph, how does wind affect solar? Well, that doesn't really make any sense. How does wind affect solar? They're completely two different power sources.
They're two different power sources.
Yeah.
But one thing that's interesting is your new president is not a big fan of wind.
No, he doesn't like him, does he?
Especially near his golf courses in the
Yeah.
UK or Scotland. In Scotland.
Yes, Scotland, as we say. Yeah, indeed. Now, I can tell you they're all over Cornwall, which is where I live in the UK, and I have no issue with it. I remember when I last visited England, a lot of people were protesting about looking across the environment and seeing wind turbines. Going, it's ruining my view. And I can understand we'd rather see just green fields and trees than solar panels or wind turbines. I agree. Nobody's going to say it looks beautiful. However, I don't mind it. And let me tell you why. Some of the people that are saying, I hate all of this, I hate all this, are the same people that are quite happy to plug their iPhone into the AC outlet and expect power to be there. When you decide to live outside in the jungle and you don't have any power devices whatsoever and you don't require any services, any equipment, any commodities, any assets, anything at all, you're completely just living on the ground. You can say you don't like to see any power generating systems. But the moment you decide you want some product, whether it be an iPhone or plug in the telly, remember the power's got to come from somewhere, and it's just another way to generate power. Always makes me laugh that when people say about that. One thing, because I live in Texas and everyone loves oil in Texas and everyone loves big gas cars, they go, I ain't got time for that electric stuff. And I go, and I love saying this because they never know what to say to this, right? They say, "Oh, I don't like that electric. Oil's the way to go." And they have their big truck. They have their big truck which does 4 miles per gallon and all that stuff. And they turn. And by the way, I don't own a car because I don't need one. I don't go anywhere. I'm on the show all the time. I just live in the house. Very sad life, but I've got a project to grow the channel. And I say, okay, so you hate electricity. So how do you plug the telly in then? Every device in your house other than your car is electric. You hate electric, but every single product you own, your computer to your iPhone, is all electric. When you can show me that your phone and your TV has got a big gas engine at the back of it, keeping it going, then you can say I hate electric. But as long as you're plugging in your electric phone or your computer or your lights, you need electric. So you might just want to consider that before you say, electric's rubbish, because you rely on it. The only thing that's not electric is your car. Everything else is electric.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it, really, when you think about it? People, I hate electric.
Yeah, but where's my toothbrush? How do I turn the stove on if it's electric or gas?
Yeah, I've never seen anybody with a gas powered TV or computer. And when they do, then they'll have an argument. I always find that quite entertaining. Anyway, I think we've covered everyone's question. We've given everyone the chance. How do you change there? We did that. Yes, I think we have. Joseph, it's been absolutely great having you on the show. We'd love to have you, weekly or whatever, pop in for 5-10 minutes. Give us an update on commodities. Give us an update on the price of wheat. And talking about wheat, of course, the basket of Europe, if not the world, Ukraine, all the wheat. How will that? Kind of a loaded question, really. When the war comes to the end, which hopefully at some point it will, how will that affect the price of wheat and other commodities?
Well, right now, I can pull out a wheat chart, but
thank you.
The issue for wheat then will be is can the farmers get into the fields because of the mines that have been laid? So that's a big issue for people to worry about. Wheat prices, the contract here shows 530, down 20 today, down 3.8%. In 2022, when the invasion occurred, the price of wheat went from 600 to 1284, so doubled, because of everybody thought that there was going to be no ability to move grain. Remember, the
Yeah.
two largest European producers of wheat are Russia and Ukraine. I'm not sure if Ukraine's bigger than Russia, but they're both very big. And the shipping to the Middle East, to the North African countries, is a big part of that business, and then also to Europe. So you need the shipping, not to have to worry about drones and missiles coming to blow up the ships, which has been the problem. So if there's a resolution and the farmers can get back in the fields after the mines have been removed, the breadbasket of Europe is Ukraine and Russia. The breadbasket of the rest of the world is Canada and the United States. We're the biggest producers of soybeans, canola. Brazil is big in soybeans too, but a lot of it, oats, all the barley, all those things are big produced in the grain belts of Canada and the U.S.
I want to say I love the outfit today. I often get people dress up to be on the show. We always make a point to be smart on the show. I as an entertainer, so Elton John named me the world piano man years and years ago, and I'm old school. I've been on stage since I was 4 years of age. My godfather was Kenny Baker, the man inside the robot, R2D2. Hence the name Martyn Lucas. And I've always believed that you put on a show, whatever you do, to dress up more than the audience. The audience are watching the show, and I love the outfit. I love what you've done there today. And you noticed my pin the other day. You made a comment about my England, United Kingdom, and America. I noticed you've got a pin on there as well, Joseph. Would you tell me about that one?
Well, I was trying to find one Canada and the United States, so I could say to you, I'm ready to be governor of one of your states.
Yeah.
But this pin is I love Canadian oil and gas. So
I love it.
hopefully Trump realizes that he should love the Canadian oil and gas and want us to be producing with the United States and really be the juggernaut of energy for the world.
What a great message to end on. Thank you so much, Joseph. I want to thank your lovely wife earlier as well, who before we set up the show was helping get all the technicals worked out. We had a few little tech issues, but we solved it, so we apologize for going a few minutes late. I don't think it matters anyway. It's not important. I'm going to let you get back to your work there, preparing for your upcoming conferences and everything else, and your newsletters that are going out. I will end this stream now. I'll put the links below. We've been putting it all throughout the chat. I'm sure you've got people signing up for your email newsletters and all that great stuff, and I'll put it below as well. And then this will also go out as its own video later, which is when it will get a much bigger audience, and we'll put the information there again. But you have an open invitation. We'll talk off air and we'll have a little chat if you'd like to make a little day once a week or whatever, call in and update us with everything going on. I think this would be great for us, and I think you'll get lots of followers as well. So Joseph, from all of us, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go?
I've enjoyed this very much, and I think if there's any big moves in energy, I think that's a day that I'll call in. But then once every 2 weeks, I think having a 5-10 minute chat of what's happening, what's new, I think would be great, especially with all the changes coming on January 20th. I think energy is going to be definitely in the front and center of the news cycle. So I think it'll be a pleasure to chat with you about any of those events and how individuals can make investment decisions based on that.
That's awesome. Joseph, I'll tell you what we're going to do then. Now we know that you'll in every couple of weeks pop in and anything news like that. What I'd like to do is have a little a 20-second soundbite from you, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to zoom into the full screen like this, make you solo. And what I'm going to do is make a 20-30 second little soundbite that we'll play from time to time so people can hear from you on the show. This is constantly reminding everybody about you, your services. So what I want you to do is say in like 25-30 seconds, hi, I am Joseph, blah blah blah, who you are, what you represent, and something like you've enjoyed being on the show, you'd love to recommend to anybody else, that kind of thing. So everyone gets to see you, a little quickly, saying hello to the Lucas A's, be part of the family, that kind of thing. And we'll play this from time to time. All right? You fancy doing that?
I'm happy to do that.
All right, Joseph, here's your little soundbite. This is your little commercial. Off you go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josef Schachter, and I have the pleasure of being on with Martyn today, talking about the commodity cycle that I think is going to last through the end of the decade. My focus is on energy, and I very much enjoyed being on the show today, and I'll come back in future. If anyone wants to read anything that we do, we have a free product called Eye on Energy. So just go to www.schachterenergyreport.ca, and then they can get it. And then we'll have lots of things to talk about during the cycle. I believe before this ends, this commodity cycle, not just for energy, we will probably be at record highs for most commodities, and energy will go to all-time highs above the 2008. And for those who are investors in the sector, you're going to find some fabulous opportunities and some great returns for patient long-term investors.
That was perfect. Thank you very much indeed. You've now got your own little commercial on the show. We'll play that. Absolutely. There you go. I will play that from time to time. We've got lots of those from CEOs and everyone else. It's absolutely great. They get this, other CEOs get to see it, and they come on because they've seen somebody else they know who's done the show, which is great. And it's also a great plug for you for all the wonderful things that you're doing. Joseph, thank you ever so much indeed. Everyone loved it. Ed Nevius, thank you. Well done, Martyn. Very good interview. Octavio Garcia, thank you very much indeed. Just put it on the screen. Thank you, Joseph. 2 big paws. Wonderful stuff. One of our non-members has thanked you as well, which is absolutely great. Thank you, Ed Nevius, as well. This is really, really good. I think that's it. Joseph, thank you for calling in. We'll have a chat off air. We'll sort something out. And thank you once again. Brilliant. Loved it.
Pleasure.
Love to your wife as well. Brilliant. There you go. There you go. There was Joseph today. Wasn't that fantastic? Really, really great. Enjoyed every second of it. I'm now going to end the show, take a break. I've got some videos to put out, and we'll be back for the closing bell this afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I certainly did, about oil, commodity prices, wonderful stuff. And that's it from me. What we're going to do now is end the show, and I'll see you back this afternoon for the closing bell. Until then, as always, have a wonderful day, and take care of yourselves and each other.